can I talk about this mayoral race again? Because last time I asked you about Mamdani, the candidate, and you didn't endorse him, I don't think, but you said some positive things about a lot of the issues facing New Yorkers and how he might address some of those aspirationally. I've characterized some of the response from Democrats that since they see the inevitability of it, they're twisting themselves into pretzels to try and make it look okay for this guy. I asked Josh Gottheimer earlier, the congressman, about that. Here's what he had to say. Just give this a listen.
You'll hear no ambiguity out of my mouth. We do not need a job-killing socialist. We don't need a job-killing socialist who wants to raise taxes and supports anti-Semitic rhetoric, right? In a city with the highest taxes in the country and the largest Jewish population in the country. I don't get it. That's not what we need. Could you just, I don't know, expand on what you said last time about that, whether this is good for the Democratic Party? It seems like it got pushed pretty far left for the taste of the rest of the country in recent years, and this just goes further. Is this the right time to take it even further left?
Look, Mamdani ran a grassroots campaign. He went to the people of New York City and he said, I get what's happening. And we need to run this city so that it works better financially for you. And here are some ideas I have, some new ideas I have about how to do that. I want to make city government work better for you. I think the idea that if you want to run a food truck, instead of paying $400 to the city, you got to pay $20,000 to some middleman because the city can't get itself organized just to issue those $400 certificates so that you can operate. And people said, hey, I hear that. And I like that. And he pointed out that if we did that, or if they did that, you could actually lower the cost of the food that's sold at those food trucks. He said, we've got a problem with entire food deserts where people can't get access to grocery stores. Said, I'd like to take a look at whether or not we can have some kind of, like we do on military bases, you have some kind of support from the city government that says we're going to get some food grocery stores in areas that right now are food deserts. And by the way, it's a new and fresh plan for New York City, but it's been tried in other cities around the country and has had some real successes. So what I hear Mamdani saying is, I want to try things to make it work for working families. And you know what? This is how democracy works. A lot of people in New York City said, that sounds good to me. I'd rather try that than any of the other alternatives available to me.
Hey,
I
Senator,
support that.
What do you think of, he was asked repeatedly to condemn, or whether he would condemn this phrase, globalize the intifada. Obviously, there are a lot of Jews, I'm Jewish, live in New York City. A lot of folks concerned about his inability or unwillingness to condemn that phrase. How do you feel about that phrase?
Look, it's not something I would say, and I think he has said that he will not say it. He will discourage others from saying it.
Would you condemn it yourself?
Look, I don't do that. I'm not in any part of that. But
you don't condemn the phrase?
Of course I do. Look, this is not the way we should talk. If this encourages violence in any way, then I am opposed to it. I am a no-violence person. I think it's a very, very bad idea. But let's be clear. Mamdani ran this race because he said, I can make government work better for families on the ground. I'm willing to try new ideas to bring down costs for people who live in New York City. And I understand that big-time investors are freaking out about that because they can't quite understand how somebody is going to maybe make it to be mayor without having come and bent a knee to them. But that's not what he did. He went directly to the people. He told them what he wanted to do. I think he's going to do it.
As a New Yorker and somebody who does talk to a lot of the people you're describing, the thing that I keep hearing over and over again, frankly, starts with the concerns about anti-Semitism in New York and an unwillingness to really come out vocally and condemn and actually use the word condemn. In fact, I would argue some of our viewers probably would like you to...
Can I say it for you right now? I condemn violence.
Right.
I condemn those who encourage violence.
But
there you go. Can we talk about what Mamdani has done that is bothering the Wall Street boys so much?
Well, but I was also going to suggest, I think all New Yorkers would agree that there's an affordability problem in New York, no question. And I think he did a great job of articulating that affordability problem. I think the question is, how do you address the problem, right? And I think there's two ways to address the problem. One that some people think is more effective than others. He's suggesting things like rent control on one end, and I think that a lot of folks, the investor class that you're describing, would say, you know what, you need a lot more supply of housing. That's the ultimate answer. At best, it's a Band-Aid to do rent control. At worst, it's going to make things worse. And ultimately, what you need is to change regulations and restrictions on, building heights and everything else. And I'm curious where you land when you actually start to think about even those two options.
So, look, I'm the person who's been preaching increased housing supply for years and years and years now. I actually have a housing proposal that would build 3 million new units all across America. I want to see us do more housing. We need more housing in urban areas. We need more housing in rural areas.
But to Andrew's point, when you have rent control, you don't incentivize people to come in and build new houses. We need more housing
for seniors. And yes, I think we need to make big investments to build it. And I think that we need to make changes so we can get that housing built. You know,
but does it go hand in hand with rent control, or is it something that is antithetical to have increased housing?
You ask, what do I think is the problem? I believe the problem is a housing supply problem. Build more housing. That's like Econ 101.
I guess we're just talking about rent control. Do you think that rent control puts it in a position where the private sector won't build more housing? Or is it antithetical to have additional housing if you have rent control?
I think what we need to do is put much more into building more housing. And yes, it means we need to change regulations around housing. There are a lot of different things we need to do to get more housing built. And that's where I've put out the proposal. So don't ask me how I feel about it. Take a look on my website, and take a look, by the way, I am the ranking Democrat on the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. And right now we are working on a housing bill that is very much... I don't want to overpromise here in terms of how much it'll deliver, but it's all directed toward building more housing, supply side.